Back when I reviewed Hazbin Hotel, I was very surprised at how much backlash I got, but ever since I made that video, it seems like things have become so much worse. I am so glad that the internet has come to the right side and agreeing that Hazbin Hotel is absolutely terrible. And since Hell of a Boss Season 2 ended with what is probably the worst ending to any TV show I've ever seen, I really thought we'd hit rock bottom within the animation. I thought people had finally acknowledged the problems with Vivian Medrano, people would stop supporting Glitch Studios, and the world would finally start healing again. Then the Gaslight District came out. So before I start, I guess I should explain my full thoughts on Glitch Productions. Murder Drones is not very good. I tried watching it twice, but I could never understand what the show was about after episode 1. It's really hard to follow because all of the characters look alike and the plot never really made any sense. I almost felt bad, but then I realized that most fans could never tell you what it's about. Ask the viewers to explain the plot of the last few episodes and watch them shiver. The most you'll get is people saying, I like N. I like when he said the N-word and then murdered all the drones. Honestly, I think the reason the show is popular is because it's a masterpiece compared to Hell of a Boss. In fact, I think the only reason Amazing Digital Circus got huge is because it released back when people started to turn on Vipsy-Pop. This is back when that written by Vipsy-Pop meme started, which depicted Digital Circus as a more charismatic and favorable alternative to the crude and immature world of Hell of a Boss, and it probably made people think that it was a lot better than it actually was. But Amazing Digital Circus is whack. Besides the first episode, it's just filler. It looks like one of those animations where Freddy Fazbear, Minecraft, and Among Us are all playing Squid Game, except that at least those animations try to have fun with themselves, but Digital Circus never has any fun with its concept. It just coasts on its supposedly dark themes while playing lip service to things like people dealing with new bodies, or the world having weird physics, all the while giving you a bean of character development in every episode. The plot is just a huge mystery box, which I can't stand. Like, in this style of writing just die already? I really thought that after The Rise of Skywalker that we were over the J.J. Abrams mystery box, but it's like the main inspiration behind most shows nowadays. If a writer is smart, they will have their characters want to explore their strange world so that they naturally get clues that slowly piece together what's going on. But in this show, the characters just lounge around with zero curiosity of their surroundings until the last few episodes, where these writers have to suddenly come up with answers to these elementary school mysteries. What are their backstories? Does Ragatha have sex with Horse? What does CNA stand for? What could it all mean? C&A stands for Cain and Abel. Kinger is probably Abel. He made the circus, and Cain, meaning that the others are all NPCs. That's why there was no one at the computer at the end of episode 1. The first episode sits at over 300 million views, which I think makes it the most viewed episode of a show of all time. Yet absolutely nobody talks about it. At least, nobody talks about it for its quality. You see people mention it every so often the same way people bring up Lackadaisy, Murder Drones, or every other show. Not because they're good, but because they're indie animation, and that sucks. I really hate the way these shows rely on the goodwill of their fans in order to string them along with a story that will never be good. They just keep telling you that it'll pay off someday, only for it to be revealed that the writers never had any idea what they were doing. And now we arrive at Glitch Studios' most recent show, The Gaslight District. So to start, I want to say that I don't criticize indie animation the same way I do other shows. These shows are not easy to make, and they don't have the resources large productions do, which is why I prefer to analyze the parts that don't depend on money to be good. Like the writing. But with that being said, the animation for this show is basically incomprehensible. People keep saying it's the Spider-Verse style, but the reason that art style is impressive is because despite how cluttered it is, everything is perfectly clear. If you make a show look insane, but I can't tell what's going on, then where's the skill? On top of that, the animation for the show is really ugly. But Rafe, don't you know that that's on purpose? Well yeah, I do like when shows get gross. True fans would know that I'm a huge fan of JoJo's, and that show is horrifying. But this show isn't gross in an interesting way. It's gross the way that Velma is gross. That show starts with cockroach sex. This show starts with a fly eating poop. The setting is gross for shock value, kind of like how Hazbin Hotel is gross because edgy hell Tumblr show. These shows keep trying to outcompete each other on who can be the most disgusting, violent, and crude, but now it's just become boring. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because the story is kind of impossible to follow with how crazy the visuals are, and it's really funny to see other people talk about how good good this show is, even though they also have no idea what's going on. But to be fair, I think the reason the show is incomprehensible is because if you actually understood it, your brain would explode. So try to keep up here. This guy is Jack. Jack is running because he found out Mel is human and now the others want to kill him. But why doesn't Jack just tell the others that Mel is human? He could literally start shouting it in the street and he would win, but instead he just starts this stupid car chase. It's not until his lungs are crushed that he tries to say something, but not before shooting the crew and getting surprised that they're immortal, even though he should already know that because that's literally the point of this show. See, in this show, everyone is immortal, but not in a way that makes sense. We see people come back, but their injuries don't get fixed. So do they not need these parts anymore? I mean, Jack couldn't speak when his lungs got crushed, even though this is a world where you can talk with a hole in your head or being fully decapitated. Why did you even crush his lungs? Don't you want to find out who did this?
Why are we hunting Jack? Oh, what, Jack? Apparently not.
If your goal is to silence him forever, why are you gonna drop him into the ocean where he can be rescued later? Why not encase him in cement? That's what I thought they meant when they said cement. Why not tear him to pieces? Why not use
chemical disincorporation?
Rafe, stop talking so much about plot holes. This show is about the characters, not the plot. I mean, that's what I've been doing, but sure, I'll play your game. The show follows 4 characters: Kenny, Mud, Breadhead, and
Melancholy.
If there was an algorithm that took in every indie animated character, you would get Mel. In fact, here's a guide on how to create your own original indie character. First, draw these big, huge, crazy eyes. Then next, give them like a psychopath smile with pointy teeth. Then give them a quirky personality. Then make them a lesbian or something. I don't know. So Mel's goal in this episode is to hide the fact that she's human by stealing a human egg from heaven and destroying it in public. But why? She says it's to get rid of suspicion that she's human, even though we never see such suspicions. After all, if anybody did suspect her, all they'd have to do was nick her arm to check her blood, right? You could do the Thor thing with Loki and have a character shoot her in the head. And if she's human, she dies. But if she isn't, she'll be fine. There's no way anybody could hide their humanity in this world, right? Her trying to come up with this ridiculous roundabout plan to prove she's innocent should only make them more suspicious of her identity. Honestly, I don't understand why Mel is so desperate to be here. This place is disgusting and uninhabitable. Why would you want to live amongst a group of horrible murderers that will literally kill you just because of what you are? None of them sympathize with you, at least except for Pot of Greed here. But why? Why does Ken actually care about her in a way the other crew members don't? He's apparently willing to kill anyone that finds out she's human, despite the fact that Mel is really selfish and constantly has her cover blown through carelessness or just straight up telling people. The only reason they had to kill Jack is because she was reading necrophilia porn in front of him and got a nosebleed. She's constantly demanding to be taken seriously, despite the fact that she's constantly getting everyone in trouble. The other 2 characters are basically filler, because every indie animated show needs to have a big cast for some reason. Zombie Man is just a sleazy gangster, and Breadhead is just a guy with a weird character design. That's it. You'd think that in 20 whole minutes you'd be able to develop these characters even a little bit, but most of it is this Teen Titans Go dialogue. Like, the show is insecure about maintaining your attention span without having the characters constantly moving and jumping all over the walls. But you can't fool me. I'm a zoomer. Mel's plan is to break into heaven because heaven and the angels are actually the bad guys.
Never heard that one before.
And the plan is so horrible, it makes me wonder how anyone chose to go along with it. In fact, she almost gets caught at the very beginning, but is saved by one of the guards suddenly deciding to kill his searching crew. I mean, it wouldn't be indie animation without having villains that can't do anything right. Then they do the thing where they steal uniforms from the guards and dispose of the bodies, but like, aren't those bodies gonna come back? That's like the whole thing with this show. Part of Mel's plan is for Zombie Man to sneak into the camera room somehow and to kill the guard. Then later the guard comes back to life 5 minutes later and they're all surprised. The fact that Mel asks Ken if he's proud of this clown plan is insane. So Ken decides to change the plan and attack this random guy in the lab, which like, what? He was the one telling Mel to be careful, but now he's going to ruin everything? We don't even know who this guy is, nor do we learn anything about him. Yet we're supposed to find this, what, cathartic? Cool? Yeah, this is cool. Oh man, I need a heater because this is too cool. Look at all the poses, the music, the animation. Isn't this all so cool? So is he gonna come back to life now, or does eating his brain count as permadeath? Why not just eat the brains of everyone you want to silence? Or is the next episode gonna start with him shitting the brain into a toilet? That'll be fun. Anyways, Mel gets to the egg, but not before reaching its terrifying guardian. Finally, a fight where she'll have to struggle and show her skills and why she deserves to get this.
Fuck.
Ah, shit. that intel.
No, Mel, that was good intel. This thing is so frail and old that you won't even have to try to steal the egg. In fact, it'll basically let you kill it. Doors will disappear and reappear to let you pass. Even when you fall off the ledge, everyone you need will be right there to catch you.
Do our pinky promises mean nothing to you?
No, man, you changed the plan. Anyways, they escape the pathetic heaven security and get back home, where Ken gives a cringe edgelord monologue about killing humans before telling Mel to break the egg, where we're left with a cliffhanger. I think the biggest problem with most indie animated shows is that they expect us to already like these characters before we've even met them. We don't learn anything about BreadTube, Zombie Guy, or even Ken really outside of their intro scenes, yet the show acts like we're already familiar with all of them. Mel is a pretty insufferable character. She's stupid, impulsive, and entitled, yet she gets everything she wants from the story without even gaining a scratch. Well, she'll get injured, but those injuries just disappear when it's convenient for the plot. It might genuinely be the messiest pilot I've ever seen. It's worse than the Has-Been Hotel pilot, the Amazing Digital Circus pilot. It's worse than the Ramshackle pilot.
Losers like us. We're all we've got on this bitch of an earth, so.
And even the Hell of a Boss pilot. Yet for some reason, this is seen as the best one. Of course this isn't gonna be as bad as Hell of a Boss. It simply can't be. That show had 2 seasons to be terrible. This show only had 20 minutes. It's honestly amazing that the show is as bad as it is. Creating this many plot holes in one episode, assassinating such flat characters, these guys are pioneers. It's not like everything needs to be explained in one episode, but like, we need something. This episode is so inefficient, showing us only one relationship between 2 characters and establishing this villainous base of authoritarian angels that are too stupid to live. It's such hacky writing to constantly paint a villain with religious imagery just so that you can say that they're too entitled and stupid, unlike our base protagonists who are clever and cool despite being a bunch of degenerates. Just cause you told me they're evil doesn't make them the bad guys. If you want to come up with a cool character design for your villains, how about coming up with your own ideas? I mean, you could have explored this strange world by focusing on developing the unique social challenges and problems these characters would have to face living in a world where no one can die, but instead they just wrote about the same thing they always do, a class dispute where evil oppressors are trying to prevent people from expressing themselves. These people don't know how to write about anything but themselves. I'm honestly kind of tired of every indie animated show being some cynical postmodernist view on reality. Why can't they ever write a story about good people? Or if you're gonna write a story about bad people, acknowledge that they're bad guys. Why can't we get something that tries to be beautiful instead of constantly being disgusting? Something that can be uplifting and inspiring rather than just another depressing deconstruction of humanity that only exists to tell us how horrible we are. It's not difficult to point out the flaws in something. Rafe, you shouldn't criticize indie animation so harshly. At that point, what even is indie animation? Is it indie to have a popular channel with tens of millions of subscribers, billions of views, dozens of animators on payroll, producers, supervisors, and, you know, being on Netflix and Amazon Prime? To me, indie animation was always about one guy running on passion to make a story real. It was a place where people were allowed to compete based on skill rather than money, showing off their skills to make things we didn't usually see on TV. We used to get entire stories within a single short video that had likable characters we might get to see again someday. But nowadays, indie animation is a bloated, saturated, and overproduced nightmare, making videos that are unsustainable, forcing themselves to reach the 20-minute mark to give themselves the appearance of professionalism, while also giving us a story that's the animated equivalent of DLC. Incomplete stories made to trick us into watching more until they get bored and give us a half-assed ending. I have no problem with a small team becoming an official organization, but I'm tired of them masquerading as indie animation just to encourage fan support out of some sort of virtue. They have zero respect for the writing process, yet they claim to be these precious artists whose vision must be protected from evil producers. But the reality is that any of the characters from Alan Becker's videos have more development in a single video than any VipsyPop or Glitch production character has ever had. Meat Canyon's videos are able to show disgusting and horrifying imagery that is infinitely more creative and meaningful than anything in Gaslight District. Or hell, watch the best of Smash Bits animations or old Senor Pello videos and see how many jokes they managed to fit into every scene. We never needed an indie animation renaissance. We were already there. But these people get to take the credit by giving us nothing in return other than the excuse that they're new and still getting used to it. These people have told us they'd improve over time, but after 7 years of this garbage dominating the market, I think it's pretty clear. This is not a matter of inexperience. These people are talentless. And the thing that annoys me the most is seeing other YouTubers say, well, the problem with the show is that it has bad pacing. Bad pacing is not a problem. It's the symptom of multiple problems. People said the same thing about Has-Been Hotel, as if the problem with that show is that it was too good. Dispel the delusion solution from your mind that Vivian Medrano's biggest problem is that she has too many good ideas. I hope that people understand that when I say this stuff, it's not because I want to see these shows fail. It's because I love indie animation, and I want it to stay relevant as a space that encourages creativity, and these shows are killing people's interest. These people claim they're revolutionizing animation, but what have they made so far? We got 2 shows that are so bad they've been ridiculed off the internet. We have a show that's about to be ridiculed in a few episodes, a bunch of shows that are never going to be finished, and a completed show that no one cares about. We are in the indie animation dark age. I can assure you that 3 or 4 episodes in, Gaslight District will be just as hated as the other shows, because these shows never get better, they only get worse, and they're still trying to con you. I've seen way too many people say that they're excited for Knights of Guinevere just because it was made by Dana Terrace. Dana Terrace? You're getting your hopes up on the person that wrote The Owl House? But Rafe, she wrote Gravity Falls. She didn't write it, she storyboarded, and that was like 10 years ago. After The Owl House, she's definitely cooked. I'm gonna put that show under things that deserve their full video later on, because I'm tired of so many animated things getting away with being so terrible. We all deserve better than this, and now that I'm finally back, I'm gonna have some fun making sure we get it. That's all I got for this video. Goodbye!